Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, that being the meeting of Warwick Township Council being on the day of September 11th, 2003 at 3:30. I'll remind council of disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict they want to declare at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much. I also want to welcome everybody who's tuning in through YouTube. And now I'm going to do the acknowledgement of ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered here today, Township of Warwick, is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario, whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs and offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. We'll go to number 5 on the agenda, Council. And that's the minutes of the August 14th meeting, 2023, regular meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Councillor Manning and Deputy Mayor Kallenberg, all in favor? That is carried. And there was no business arising from those minutes, Madam Clerk?
No.
No, thank you. We go to number 7, Council. That's the scheduled meetings and events. There's a long list there. For an FYI for everybody. Did anybody wish to comment on any of those meetings listed? I'm looking. No, I'm saying everything looks good then. Thank you. Wayne, or pardon me, Councillor Morris, did you have a comment? Okay, Councillor Morris is joining us by Zoom today. So we'll go to Councillor's commitments and items. So councillor commitments first. Does anybody have anything they wish to add to the list? Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I'd like to remove September 1st to the 21st. I'm taking myself off the designated list. And I'd like to add February 12th to February 28th, please.
Very good, Councillor. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything they want to add or subtract? Okay, very good. Let's go to Councillor's items. That's updates. I'll start with Councillor Manning, if I could.
I have nothing at this time.
Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
I'm good at this time.
And Councillor Morris, did you have anything?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm just going to touch on a couple or a few things here. A few of us were at the AMO conference in London 3 weeks ago. I just wanted to update everybody that we did meet with the Ministry of Energy. Again, we continue to try to get the opportunity for more natural gas in our community, as well as 3-phase hydro. So we had a meeting to deal with that. We also met with the Minister of Environment on the EA process when it comes around the landfill situation. We also met with the Minister of Transportation, who is no longer the Minister of Transportation, on some issues around traffic coming off the 402 into our community, talking about maybe a better off-ramp situation for ourselves. And I think maybe other than we did meet jointly with, I had the opportunity to meet jointly with our friends from Plimpton, Wyoming, on our situation with CN, and they're not paying their bills when it comes to drainage. So we had a very good meeting with the Minister, Minister Thompson, Minister of Agriculture, as well as the PA for agriculture as well. So just a little update. I know everybody's kind of in the know on that, but they were very good meetings, and I can honestly say that we were listened to. We have a new Minister of Transportation, so we'll start all over again with that particular situation. But anyways, just to update the public. And the other question I've had from the public lately, and I know Amanda is going to be dealing with it later on, is Zion Line and when that potentially will be reopened to the public again. It's causing a little bit of an issue out there for some folks and getting folks back and forth and school bus situations and so on. So I'll let Amanda address that when we get a little later on in the meeting. So that's all I had. Let's go to staff items that we can then. Amanda, please, once verbals.
Thank you, Mayor Case. And well, we didn't have any verbal updates listed on the agenda. I have 2 for council today. The first being related to the emergency declaration and just some updates for council and the public related to the township follow-up actions that are ongoing. So I just want to confirm that as part of working with the province for potential financial assistance for the public members, as well as potentially for the municipality through their two programs. Today, the provincial disaster assessment team is actually in Warwick Township and visiting 9 private properties to assess some damage. I want to thank our members of the public who allowed them to enter their homes and property and participate in that assessment process. Following that assessment, we should hear from the province whether that funding window for our public residents may be made available. And certainly we will complete all the public notice related to that when we do hear back from the province. So just wanted to make council aware. Related to that, we've also began the process of application and tracking records to the municipal disaster recovery assistance program for the municipal financial costs. Further, Mayor Case mentioned Zion Line. So we have been continuing to work with our engineers to get the results of the assessment of both Bear Creek Bridge as well as Zion Line itself, and the section that remains closed. And just today, we did receive notice of the repairs that would be required before we can reopen that bridge and that section of road. And they so until today, we didn't have a breakdown of what was required. So we will be looking to do adding some additional granular on the side of the road by the bridge and also doing some milling and paving and repairing some shoulder drop-offs. Because I just received this in time for the meeting, we don't have a timeline for that work to be completed yet. But now having this information, we can start to plan for timeline. We understand people want the road open, and we will make every effort to get these repairs done as quickly as possible so we can reopen that road. So stay tuned. If I may just go to my second update. So my second update, also just hot off the press today, the municipality received notice from Waste Management that they have launched their a public consultation process as part of their landfill expansion environmental assessment application. So the public and council should be aware that there are 2 electronic surveys right now available, released today on both the community and economic surveys to gather input from residents and businesses. The input provided will help to describe existing socioeconomic conditions and determine the potential effects of the project, being the landfill expansion, on the residents and townships. And the results of the surveys will be included as part of their application to the province as their environmental assessment. So the survey was launched today and will be available until September 29th. The municipality was notified today, and we do have some promotional posters from Waste Management, and we will, of course, make efforts to make sure they're pushed out in the community, and council has all those pieces of information as well. But since it was timely, we wanted to include it on the agenda today for council. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Amanda. Did anybody have any questions on any of the verbal items that Amanda's just presented? Looking around, seeing none. The only comment I'll make is it would have been nice maybe we would have gotten a little bit of a heads up from WM when they were planning on launching this, instead of finding out about it today, the same day it was released to the public. But anyways, we'll work on that and try to get better communications when it comes to that particular EA process with WM. Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Amanda. So we do have some timed events, and that's number 10, and we're going to start those at 4 o'clock. So I'm going to move on the agenda, and we'll come back to the quarter revision as well as we have 2 presentations as well today. We'll come back to those as well. Let's go to number 11 if we can, accounts, and that's the GL. The accounts obviously are missing in the sense because Sylvia was on vacation last week, and we don't have them, but we'll get caught up at the next meeting. So we do have the GL. Does anybody have any questions on the GL report, council? Looking, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion, council, for approval. Councillor Morris, Deputy Mayor Kellenberg, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll go to number 12, consent agenda. So we do have items A through H for consideration. Is there anything in there that council would like to pull out and discuss? Otherwise, I would look for a motion. I would look for a motion to receive and file. Is there anything through A through H that council would like to pull out? Doing this a little differently. Would you like me to go through them individually? No, I didn't think so. Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kallenberg, seconded by Councillor Manning. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Let's go to number 13 if we can, council. Reports and items requiring a motion. So 13A is our first one, and that's on the strategic plan, and that's adopting it. Questions on the strategic plan from anybody on council? Seeing none, otherwise I would entertain a motion of council saw fit. Councillor Manning and Deputy Mayor Kallenberg. All in favor? That is carried. 13B, proposed municipal flag policy. Any questions on that policy on 13B, council? Yes, Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about this one it's caused a lot of problems in other communities. Are we gonna be picking sides in what we put up and what we don't put up? I just as soon leave it as it is. We have 3 government flags flying in front of ELCC. I'd like to see it just stay that way. That's my opinion.
Sure.
Amanda, would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Sure, Mayor Case. Thank you. Certainly, Councillor Morris, that is it's completely an option. So this was just a draft policy prepared. Initially was focused on just roles and responsibilities of flag raising and lowering internally, and then also like when half masting would be appropriate. And because we have had some requests in the past, primarily informal, about just how we fly flags, we thought proposing a policy that put in a process for that would be appropriate. But if council would prefer not to fly special occasion flags, they can certainly make that decision or direct us to amend the policy accordingly.
Anybody else have any comment on the flag policy? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I'm kind of in agreement with Wayne on that. I think we fly our township flags and our Canadian flag, and we leave the 3 that we have there as such.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Manning.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like the policy as far as the half mast and the whole process of codifying what's there. But as far as adding additional flags to what's already there, I think the flags as they are should stay as they are.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So again, this is looking for really, in all honesty, there's a suggested motion here on the policy. Council can choose not to obviously adopt that. They can stay with what we've got now, a status quo. But we do realize there probably will be requests still. I think that's what the clerk was sort of trying to get at. So there will be requests that will come in from time to time. And I guess, Amanda, we will just handle those the way we always have then, or it'd be just a flat no, because the policy will be that it's three government flags. Is that the way it is now? Maybe you could just let us know what the policy we have now actually entails.
So right now, generally, we're not flying any flags of significance annually, except for last September, we flew the all Every Child Matters flag. But that's actually when we realized we did not have a policy that dealt with requests like that. So I guess council could, you have a few options. You could set the policy or approve as amended with removing the reference to flags of, I'll say, significance or special flags. You could direct a policy to be amended and brought back to you for consideration. As Mayor Case noted, there would be a gap, or we would be hoping for some direction on how to deal with future requests. So while we haven't had many in the past, it may be something we may see more of in the future. So as you said, Mayor Case, there could be two options of, our council policy doesn't allow for flags, special flags to be flown, and we just address half-masting type of things. Or requests could come through a process. That's why we proposed one. And in the absence of that process being approved, I would think any member of the public could write to council at any time for a request, which would happen now with any, I guess, any issue that didn't have a process to be addressed through. Does that clarify? Oh, thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned every child matters in a situation with that. And that's when you stumbled upon and realized that we didn't have a policy on this. And I guess that's the only thing that concerns me a little bit, is that there's some very worthy causes out there that may come up from time to time. And if they come forward to ask us and they automatically get a no, because our policy is to fly such and such government flags only. I mean, it's cut and dry, but I still think we're going to get maybe the odd suggestion, the odd, request. And I just think, and from that standpoint, there's some worthy causes out there that we may want to look at. And one of the things Amanda said, we could always have this amended in such a way where we look at them individually as they come. That's something we could do as well. Again, I understand why they've asked for a policy. They stumbled upon the situation when they had Every Child Matters. So again, just my 2 cents worth, council. I see where everybody's coming from, but I can also see where staff's coming from on this particular item. So we can leave it the way it is. We can ask staff to bring back another report that would maybe give some options and look at it again, or we can just, like I say, we leave it the way it is now and move and go from there. It's whatever council wants, whatever council's pleasure is. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I think just the policy for half masting and some of that stuff should be brought forward, and then that's set in stone, and we all understand that. So, I think we can maybe come back with a few other options or whatever, or at least do the policy for the half masting and whatnot. So
Deputy Mayor, would that be a motion to bring that back with maybe some other suggestions, or is that not? I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
no, I would make that a motion to have the policy for half masting, and I guess as far as the flying a different flag, I'm kind of like where we're at now.
So I do have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Morris, are you seconding that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Now, from a staff standpoint, is that clear? Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Case. Yes, in terms of the policy amendment expectations, it is. I do have a question for clarification though, would you like also to provide direction for staff to bring back options on how to deal with flags of significance, or just advise people that there's not a process to be dealt with through that?
I will ask the mover and seconder. I'll ask the mover, is that part of it to the mover, to the deputy mayor, or not?
I think we leave it as such, and if somebody feels it's of great importance, they can write a letter to council.
Very good. That gives clarity. Is the seconder okay with that?
Yes,
Councilor
I am.
Morris?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm.
Thank you, Councilor Morris. Okay, any other questions or comments on that? So basically, yes, Councilor Manning.
I'd like, obviously we'll make a vote, but I just want to kind of go on record and say that I actually agree with that too. I like the idea of keeping it open. So when the policy does come out, if we can review that.
Very good. So I guess we entertain whatever requests at that particular time, not to close the door on anything without hearing from the people first. Very good. Okay, everybody's clear on that. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, let's go to 13C. And that's an update on the municipal notice policy. And there's a suggestion, a recommendation that goes along with that as well. How does council wish to deal with that particular piece of business today?
I'll make a
Mayor?
motion.
Oh, Councilor Morris.
I'll
Are you
make that
moving it?
motion. Yes, I am.
Very good. Are you seconding it, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I am.
Seconded by the deputy mayor. Any further discussion on that one? Seeing none. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, let's go to 13D. And that's the proposed 2024 calendar of meetings. And I want to thank the deputy clerk. She actually put a lot of the other events that are annual on there as well. To try to keep things, from having conflict in meetings and times. So thank you very much, Heather, for doing that. And is everybody okay with that? We stay with the same day and continue on. So there is a recommendation on that as well. How does council wish to deal with the recommendation? Councillor Manning, you're moving it. Seconded by the deputy mayor, John Kellenberg. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, let's go to E if we can. And this is an OFM funding update on historical heritage. And there's also a recommendation that goes along with this one. Any questions on that? There is a recommendation. How does council wish to proceed? Councillor Morris.
I'd like to make that a motion. There's been a lot of interest in historical since the 150. I know Joe has done a tremendous amount of work on it, that I'd like to see an official committee on it. So I make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Manning? Any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, let's go to F if we can. And that's Snaver Road and Confederation Line intersection. Now, council, just going to make a recommendation on this. We are missing Councillor Westgate, who brings a lot of experience to these kinds of things today. He is off on vacation that was planned quite some time ago. I would propose maybe that we table this to our next council meeting. I would make that a motion. So Councillor Westgate could be part of the discussion. Could I get a seconder to that? Seconded by Councillor Manning. Any discussion on that? Tabling motion. I guess there's no discussion. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And we have the award tender. I'm just checking my time. We're good. Award tender for the Eastman Van Aert drain. That's here for number G, and there's a recommendation for GLH at $49,188.90. How does council wish to deal with that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
I'll move we go with the recommendation.
Deputy Mayor Kellenberg, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. And then we have another tender, which we have to deal with today for the Hagel drain. And there is a recommendation that the tender for the Hagel drain at $53,618 be awarded to GLH as well. How does council wish to deal with that particular recommendation? Councillor Manning is moving it. Seconded by Councillor Morris.
No, I'd like to speak on it, please.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, I guess, is Andrew there?
Andrew is actually
Okay.
working with the provincial folks today and actually
All right.
helping with.
Well, I guess the question I have is, the tender that got it is only by $4,000, but cheapers, it's about 11 months later start than the other one. I'm just thinking of the ratepayers that actually have it. How urgent is this to be done? Like, you're talking October 31st, 24, and when's the other one? November, the other one is January 8th, 24. That's a long distance.
So Amanda's going to speak to that. Thank you, Councillor Morris.
Thanks, Councillor Morris. I can't speak to how the nature of the repairs or their urgency, other than to express that I'm not aware of any urgency related to these repairs. So that's it. But in terms of our procurement policy itself, it does specify always going with the lowest tender, not necessarily factoring in a point system for timing. So our council procurement policy, unless council provides different direction, is to go with the lowest cost bid that meets the specifications. And in this case, the timeline doesn't factor into that policy consideration, although council can certainly direct differently.
Follow up, Councillor Morris.
No, I'm satisfied with that. Thank you. I'll second the motion.
Can I comment again?
Yes,
Thank you.
Amanda?
Thank you, Council Morris. I just had a motion from across the table here. Trevor's noting that it might be a typo in the report in terms of the timeline requirements that you're referring to. So we will clarify with Andrew and then advise council if there is a change in what the timeline that's been noted in the report. Sorry about that.
So with the mover and seconder would be okay to approve along with, as long as clarification can be made on the timing? Is that okay? Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, gang, I'm going to back the bus up if I can. And we're going to go back to delegations. Just give everybody a chance, including myself, to get there. Okay, we're going to go to number 10, and that would be Delegations Council. And the first order of business today under delegation and timed events is actually we've got 3 minutes to 4 o'clock. So we're just going to, I think we've got almost we'll go back maybe to number 14 on the agenda, new business. Did anybody have any new business today? Yes, Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
Just a question. I meant to bring it up when we did the fire report there. Is the new radio system all active, like working now?
Great question. It is not up and running yet. So Chief Goodhill has been working with other Lambton municipalities. I believe all the approvals are in place and the notification has been provided to CAC in Wallaceburg, but the transition has not yet taken place. Last I spoke with Chief Goodhill, I think he's anticipating, I want to say about another month before the change takes place. We'll certainly notify council of any additional changes, but everything's set up to transfer, just hasn't completed the transfer yet.
And I guess the other question, are we still dispatching both departments throughout the day?
Also, great question. So with the change in the radio system, I understand that CAC is not able, their protocols don't allow for both stations to be paged at the same time. So right now, the first responding station would be contacted, and then it would be up to the chief or lead respondent, to the deputy or chief, to radio and ask for the other station to respond. So I do understand that Chief Goodhill and Chief Sitlington are connecting on that following some recent calls, just to clarify what type of fires would what type of incidents would automatically require the second station call out and times of day and that kind of stuff, so that we can have an internal procedure rather than one provided by CAC directly. So we'll work one internally.
Okay, so I mean, it is a good question, Deputy Mayor asked, because again, the process has always been dual response. And now that it's not being done because that their capabilities or process don't allow it, I think it could maybe cause some confusion within the ranks from time to time. So it's good the two chiefs are getting together, and it's an excellent question that was asked by the Deputy Mayor. So thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that. Do you have some clarification? I just heard somebody wanted to make a point. Who am I going to?
Trevor.
Trevor, please.
Just for clarification on the Hagel drain, the start date is October 31st, 2023.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much. So it was just a typo. So that's great. So that alleviates the problem, I think, Councilor Morris had. Am I correct, sir?
That is correct.
Okay. It is 4 o'clock on the dot, according to my time device here. So anyways, we are going to now go into the quarter revision. So anyways, I need a motion that Warwick Township Council proceed into the court revision of for the McKay Drain 2023 bylaw number 80 of 2023. Councillor Manning is doing the honors, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Have any written appeals been received? No written appeals have been received. Very good. Does anyone present have any verbal appeals? Looking to the audience, seeing none. Andrew's not with us at all, but were there any comments coming from the drainage superintendent's desk today? None. Thank you. Since there are no appeals filed, the following resolution is to be passed. Do we want a motion for that now? I guess we could take a motion for that now. So we'll need a motion that the court of revision for the McKay Drain 2023 bylaw number 80 of 2023 be closed without changes to the report and that we go back into open council. So I was doing the honors. I've got Deputy Mayor Kallenberg and I've got Councillor Manning. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. Let's go to 10B if we could. And we have a presentation today. I'm going to hopefully not pronounce the name wrong. We have Stasia Stemsky. Am I correct? With us is online. Very good. I got the name right, I hope. Anyways, she's a principal and lead designer for PI Earl and she's going to be talking about the wayfinding signage. So she's going to make a presentation. So Stasia, are you there? Is she connected?
Hello, it's Stacia.
Hi,
here.
how are you today?
Fine, thank you. And how are you?
Good, good. I'm well,
I'm
thank you.
just-
You're, anyways, what we usually do here, welcome. And usually at this point in time, I turn the floor over to you to make your presentation. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much. I'm just turning you up a little bit here. I had you down on low. There we go. Very good. Well, thank you for having me here today to review the current concepts that we've put together. I'll just introduce myself first. I'm Stacia Stemsky. I'm with the company Plural, and we've been hired by the township to put together some concepts and a strategy for your wayfinding signage and marketing strategy. So a lot of work has gone into it so far, and we're just moving towards finishing up and looking for some final guidance from you folks as to which direction to take with the concepts that we've put together. And I have been working with Stephanie Catrice, Trevor Jarrett, and Ryan Shammy on all of these concepts. So I will just move forward now. Just a minute, am I able to, I hope I can share my screen. There we go. Share. Does everybody see that? Yes, very good, thank you. And I am now just going to turn it into a full screen mode so we can see the whole thing. So for my little presentation here, I'm just going to walk you through some of the project summary, what we've done so far, the purpose of the project, process and progress. Then we'll move into a review of the concepts that we've come up with so far and a budget estimate comparison. And then I'll finish off with where we will be going after today's meeting. So the purpose of the wayfinding signage and marketing strategy really is to establish a series of signage and wayfinding elements to be implemented throughout the township of Warwick communities. Design and execute signage and wayfinding elements thoroughly to create a sense of arrival, contribute to placemaking and tourism development, strengthen connectivity, improve circulation patterns, promote community assets, and present opportunities for private local businesses. The third purpose really suggests wayfinding methods to reach different people of varied backgrounds, all parts of the township, ages, needs, and expectations. So we're looking at having something that's somewhat intuitive, something that's also very accessible so that everybody is able to access the information that you're trying to put forth. Oops, Sorry about that. There we go. So process, in a nutshell, really, we've got a 3-phased process happening. We've got phase 1 is the audit and research, which is really a review of all your background documents. We went to visit your towns and observed what you had going on there. Looked at maps and destination reviews, classified your destinations, thought about how we can use wayfinding to support marketing opportunities, and proposed a family of signs being all of the types of signs that might be included in this overall strategy. So different kinds of signs in terms of whether it's an identification sign or a directional sign or whatnot. Phase 2, look and location. So this is where we came up with 3 different concepts and budget estimates to start off with. We did messaging schedules, sign location plans. We come up with placement guidelines, so specifically how to place something in the landscape based on road allowances and curbs and sight lines and things like that. We've got a map design going on for the information kiosk. And then at the end of that, phase 2, I've highlighted in red here, preferred concept selection. So at the beginning of phase 2, we had a few different concepts and a number of color combinations that I think you've had privy to. We presented that to your management team. They took that away and came back to us with some guidance on a preferred color scheme for the 3 different concepts. So we had applied that color concept to all 3 schemes. Phase 3 is the implementation guide. In the implementation guide, we will bring forward that concept and produce design intent drawings for a preferred concept. System management, how do we actually get this from the report into the ground? Phasing and budget considerations. Table to ground information is part of that system management funding resources. So that still has to be done. It's in draft form at the moment, but we really do need to move forward with the final concept. So this is where we are here with the 3 different concepts. We had our first concept at the top called the modern community concept. Concept 2 is the historic roots concept. And then the 3rd one is our architectural craftsmanship concept. So we've applied that basic white with the red banner and footer on all 3 concepts to come up with these here. This is a selection of sign types. We haven't produced the full aggregate of the family of signs until we choose which concept we're going with. So there might be some other derivatives within each of these families that we will move towards at that time. So essentially we have our rural signs that might be out away from the main towns or urban areas, specific to higher speeds of traffic. When we move into urban situations, we're looking at somewhat smaller sign types that might be located on a roadside or sidewalk. And then as we move into the community, we might have something that's even a little bit smaller called a local sign. And that's once we move into the system, we're losing destinations because we're getting closer and closer to where we might need to go. So that essentially is the family of signs. And some of these might be tweaked a little bit, but essentially what we're looking for today or after today is some direction on whether or not it might be the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd concept that we carry forth with. On the side here, we have come up with some overall budget estimates for each concept. 251,000, 271,000, 304,000. And essentially this is relative to the amount of detail that might be found on each sign. And so the last one being a little higher in that there is probably a little bit more in terms of detailing metal pieces and whatnot. If we move forward, just so you might ask, well, where did you come up with these larger prices? What we did for the whole township is identify where destinations might actually be. We do have a list that was approved by your management team for the destinations that would be part of this project. And then we've highlighted where signs would go and what types of signs those might be. So this is our draft. Once we move forward, we'll be fine tuning this a little bit more, but for the purposes of figuring out approximately where we might be for a budget, we did this for the whole township. So any settlement area and some rural areas, we have done this. This then translates into a messaging chart where we identify what the sign types might be, what information might go on those signs. And then all of that collectively, we understand that in each community or rural area, how many rural signs, urban signs, local signs, perhaps some identification signs that might be missing, kiosks. We also have in the rural areas, township gateway signs, based large or small. That's based on road type and speed, whether it might be a larger or smaller sign. So collectively, we've put this together for each concept. We've equated a unit price for each sign and came up with a final subtotal for each community and then each rural area. So we've got our concept A, our concept B and C, B, A, B, C. Collectively, when we look at this across the board, we can see the differences. One of the things that we are loosely looking at are how would we integrate this over different time periods? How could we phase this in? Some communities will bite the bullet and actually do the whole thing in one gambit. Doesn't happen very often. So different ways of phasing things. Things can be phased by choosing community to start with and move forward with that. Perhaps they start off with a rural application. Maybe we work on the perimeter signs and move in and just do those first. Or we can carry on with a phased approach and we can just simply divide the overall total into smaller chunks that might be handleable over a 3 or 5 year period, and then propose that we'd like to work with a certain amount each year and see how the actual signs might fit into that. So there's a little bit more fiddling with the signs and what you could actually do for each amount. Just noting that there's about a 20% spread between the low and high, and most of it has to do with that level of detail and fabrication type. So these are our unit prices based on our experience over the last couple of years, which I've got to say is, I'm sure as you might know from some projects that you've had installed, unit prices or construction prices are all over the map these days. What we expected to be a normal a couple of years ago. I mean, honestly, on concrete prices and some metal fabrication things have doubled. So anything could happen between now and when you might actually move forward. But these do consider our current or more recent unit prices. When we move forward, when we actually have then that preferred design concept, we'll fine tune the sign family, and we'll also be including gateway, the township gateway signs. What you do have right now are your community gateway signs, which I know since this photo was taken a while ago, I know they've been updated with your current logo there as well. Detailed signage intent drawings. So those, we would be pulling those drawings a little bit forward, having more dimensioning and materiality on those. More detailed budget estimate and phasing considerations would go along with that. And all of that would be wrapped up into our final report that includes all those messaging charts, sign locations, implementation strategy details and whatnot. So I think that is where we are in the project. We probably have about a month's worth of work left from our perspective to move forward. So I will now open the floor up to any questions, I guess, that you might have.
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation. Does anybody on council have any questions? I know the clerk would like to make a clarification. Amanda?
Thanks for your presentation. I just wanted for council, when you saw the total signage budget that proposed here might have been a bit of a surprise. I just want to clarify for your current knowledge on our budget allocations that we have $60,000 budgeted towards this project this year. And Stephanie was successful in getting a rural economic development grant for an additional $18,000 this year. So for our implementation for year one, that's what we're looking at. And then future years would be guided through the budget process and consideration. But as part of the project, they will come up with a proposed implementation plan, but council can always adjust that year over year as timing goes on, just so you know, for that financial perspective.
Thanks, Amanda. Yes, Councillor Manning.
Sorry, Amanda, could you say the numbers again? The what Stephanie was able to achieve?
Yeah. No problem. Thanks, Councillor Manning. So we were successful in receiving an $18,000 grant through RED. And as Stasia did mention, part of the high cost is because of the materials used. So if we wanted to lower the costs, we could switch from the metal fabrication to wood, maybe even just for the larger signs. And these were cost estimates. So we didn't actually get like a quote from a sign company in our area that did it. And then as well, this is based on 65 signs. Maybe we can look at what we did pinpoint and see if maybe there's some that we need to eliminate or think we can put on the back burner as low priority to come back to later on.
So I do appreciate the clarification. I will be honest, when I looked at that number as big as it was, I couldn't help but think of all the infrastructure projects we could do with that kind of money with a total like that. So I thank you very much for the clarification on that and the grant information. Does anybody else have any questions today? Obviously, this would be referred to budget at some point in time, would be my guess. I mean, we do have money to work with this year. So I think we're looking for direction, but also the larger amount, probably it's up to council, would be referred to budget. Am I correct, Madam Clerk?
That's correct.
Yes. So we do have, as Stephanie outlined, we do have the $78,000 available to us this year. So again, I don't know if we have enough information to say, please go do this and that based on the 78,000. Do you have any comments on that, Amanda?
No. So, well, yes. So, from today's meeting, what I think our consultant and Stephanie are hoping for is some direction from council on their design preference from those three concepts. And then what they'll do with that preference is go back. Stephanie will work to revisit those the locations for signage, as well as refine that overall budget and bring back a proposed implementation plan for council. But yes, there will be only the monies spent included in this year's budget, and any future implementations will relate to annual budget approvals set by council.
You or council, does anybody feel we're in a position to give some direction today? I'm just looking around. I'm not seeing anybody. Councillor Manning?
Just solely on design to start with, my personal favorite actually happens to be the cheapest one. And one of the reasons is, honestly, I think it's a nice clean look. Other than that, the other stuff, I think, yeah, refer to later, but honestly, on the design, I do like the one that happens to be the cheaper one. I can't justify the expense and the raising it for just a couple of metal balls and a few little tweaks on there, honestly.
Thank you, Councillor Manning. Anybody else have any comments? Looking around the Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Manning. I can stick with number one.
Man, did you have a comment? Okay, so I might as well ask you, Deputy Mayor, did you have any comment or any preference going around the table here?
No, I like concept one. I'd also like B as well, but one is, like Joe said, a nice clean cut, so.
Okay, well, I'll go back to the well. So is somebody prepared to make a motion to make this official that we go with one and give some direction? Councillor Manning?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we go with concept one.
And it is seconded by Councillor Morris. You got your hand up? Thank you. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you. Now, was there another piece to this that you were looking for direction? Or is that good for today?
That's it for now.
That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. And you all have a great day too. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, council, we're going to deal with C, and that's Ken Phillips from the St. Clair Conservation Authority. If you want to come up, Ken, where do you want Ken to be? Up here?
Here.
Come on up, Ken, and we'll give you a second to get situated. And Ken's here to talk about the category of 3 services that St. Clair offers. And we'll give him a chance to settle in. And anyways, welcome, Ken. And as we always do here, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So for this evening's presentation, we're just going to go over a quick overview of what exactly, I know Asaba Bayfield has been here in the past. So what we're looking at in terms of our category 3 programs and services that we can potentially offer Warwick. So the province, as you probably are aware, has altered through the change of the Conservation Authorities Act, how we're to budget. So traditionally we have our general levy. Some municipalities have special levies for things such as operational conservation areas or specific projects that we do. And then we have what's called the category 3 programs, which we currently do not receive funding for. So some CAs do get money for these programs. We're one of the ones that do not. So through the provincial process, they required us to divide our programs in categories 1, 2, and 3. As I said, category 1s are for municipal levy, 2s through MOUs, and then 3s through agreements through MOUs, wholly or partly by levy through cost apportioning agreements. So when we looked at all of our category 3 programs, we narrowed it down to 3 that we are requesting our municipal partners to consider funding. If you can just go to the next slide, please. So they would be our education community outreach programs. So in Warwick, approximately 565 students from the catchment area schools where children from Warwick attend regularly visit our environmental education programs. In terms of conservation services, so those are like things like tree planting, primarily is in the last 5 years, we've undertaken 42 tree planting projects, planting 84,000 trees, 790 trees. And then the total cost is there. Pardon me, my glasses are getting old and I can't see the number I wrote down in my old age. And then in terms of private land stewardship, so we undertook 4 stewardship projects, and they can be anything from creating a buffer zone, which is the picture in the bottom left-hand corner there, which is literally just keeping cattle away from streams and creating naturalized areas and fencing, to creating a wetland on farm property. So in consultation with your staff, we looked at what potentially our ask would be from the municipality for the various programs. And so what we've done is looked at the annual 5-year average cost of the programs, what your apportionment would be. So if we used your actual levy apportionment as we do for the general levy, that's the middle column. And then finally, what the ask is from the authority. So for school programming, we're requesting that municipality consider entering into a 5-year agreement to supply $500 a year to help. For private land stewardship as well, $500, and for conservation services, $1,500. Sorry, that's right. Sorry, $1,500 as well. Because you've benefited quite a bit from the conservation services, that's why we weighted it in that regard. So this is strictly negotiation. It's entirely up to the municipality. I'm not putting a gun to your head by any means. It's just whether or not you would consider this funding amount for the next few years. So what the challenge we're facing, and the reason we're having to do this, is traditionally these programs have been exclusively funded through user fees, grants, and donations. What we're finding is that a lot of the grants we received have dried up. Or the criteria has changed, so conservation authorities are no longer eligible for them. For example, we've lost over $100,000 in stewardship grants that we received for the last 20 years. And the province has not only said we can't apply for them anymore, but you as a municipality couldn't hire us to do the work either if you were to get the grant. So we've been excluded entirely from even working with partners who receive the funding. So we would have to really sit down and seriously reevaluate these programs if we were going to be able to continue with them or not. And that's primarily the reason. So what we're hoping is just to get some base funding a little bit from each of our municipalities to provide some stability. We're still going to be going out and actively seeking grants and donations and those things for the programs, but this just provides some comfort for the CA as we move forward. So, and that is all I have for you today, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Anybody have any questions for the presenter today? Looking around, seeing none. So I guess this is something that we will take a look at from a financial standpoint, probably during the budget process. It's going to be in November, I believe, that we're going to be starting that process. So,
pardon me, if I may, sir, just for clarification, we do need, if the municipality wishes to have further discussions and extend, please let me know. I have to let the province know by October 30 or October 1st. But we would like to have these agreements done by the 31st of December, or they have to be in place by January 1st of the new year. I did supply municipal staff with a copy of a draft agreement. So that's all done and taken care of. It's basically the same agreement we're using for every single municipality. So it's been vetted through lawyers and all that other good stuff. So.
I appreciate that. So I guess probably what we'll do, Amanda, maybe I'll look for you to, when would you bring this forward again, potentially?
Thanks, Mayor Case. So depending on council direction, I will remind you, we did have a similar presentation from the general manager of the Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority as well. And there was not council direction provided at that time, but I thought we'd wait for our friends at St. Clair to come back first. I can have a report with both proposed agreements as well as the financial impact of both requests to council for our next even regular meeting.
Okay, well, that sounds reasonable. Is council good with that? I'm just looking for direction. Everybody's agreeing. So I guess consider that as direction, if you would, Madam Clerk. And if we bring that back for the next regular council meeting, it'll give us time to digest it a little bit and understand exactly, have some time to think about what this really means. So thank you very much. Well, I appreciate the presentation. Thank you. There's nothing else. Have a good night. Yeah, I'll let you get your mic.
My apologies. I just want to just briefly touch on the storm that went through a couple of weeks ago. So we're putting together a report for our board, and just to give you an idea of the intensity of it. Basically, the bulk of the rain fell within a 5-hour window, which I'm sure you're all here and So the type of storm that hit, we would refer to as a supercell storm. So it really just hit a straight line from Lake Erie up into Lake Huron area, but just so wide, and the path is very clearly marked. So we we just want everybody to know that the intensity of the storm would make any type of mitigation very difficult and challenging, but we will work with you as we go forward. I just wanted to make council aware if they had any questions or concerns about how it all rolled out. That was the nature of the storm, and I can come back at another time to provide more detail if you wish, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention today.
No, I really appreciate those comments, Ken, because again, it was something that nobody around here I've spoken to has ever seen before. And you calling it a supercell event, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I've heard it referred to as a 100-year reign, but it was way more than a 100-year reign at the end of the day. So thank you very much. Did anybody have any questions at all on that particular subject? We have lots of questions, but we would be here for 3 or 4 hours at the end of the day. So no, thank you very much for that update. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so that is the end of our public portion. I'd ask for a motion that we move into camera pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons: number 2, 3, and 6. Looking for a motion, Council. Councillor Manning and Councillor Morris. So you do have your hand up. I'm having a hard time seeing you. All in favor? That is carried. We'll give everybody a chance to move out who's not supposed to be here, and we'll go from there.
And we'll end our live stream.
And we'll absolutely, yes, and I'll let everybody tuning in through YouTube, let everyone know this is the end of the public portion. We were going in camera, so this will be the end of the public portion of today's meeting. Thank you very much for tuning in.